Okay, we've seen maritime change considerably over the history of maritime, and we see now a lot of simulator-based, computer-based training that is there to help seafarers learn quickly in a modern age. We envisage that this will be the area where there'll be potential growth and further change. So what do we need? We need to make sure, I would say, and this is a bit of a society question, the method of education for people for the future will have to change. The method of learning by reciting tombs of information is not the solution. Young people, and we'll talk about this in a moment, young people have got a different attention span, have different expectations, and we see that automation, communication, digitalisation will put all of these things under challenge, and we need to be part of how does it work? How can we make it work? What skills do you need to be a seafarer for the future?
When it comes to training seafarers for the future, I think we have to understand that digitalisation changes the game. We're going to need new and different skills, but very importantly, what we can also do in the future is personalised training and personalised education. And that's something that I don't think the industry's looked at in enough detail. You know, using things like gamification, we can achieve the segment of one, as it were. We can create training which is personalised absolutely to the individual. And that will give us a really good opportunity to start closing the gap between compliance and competence, which is something that we're often talking about at conferences like this. So I think there's some huge opportunities there if we can just grasp them.
I think our training institutions and our employers have got great responsibility in making sure that our seafarers have got the skills to use the most modern equipment. And with changes in technology, that equipment can change very, very quickly. So they will need onboard training, they may even need the support of computer-based training, and of course the colleges need to equip themselves with the most up-to-date equipment ready for the seafarers to get the right experience in their training phases.
I think that the training that should be provided for seafarers are much the same as the training that should be provided for nearly all other industries, specifically within STEM competences, that is science, technology, engineering and math. And the reason for this is it's basically related to any industry. Digital requires that you have a certain understanding of STEM. But on the softer side, it's also quite important that individuals, especially at sea, have a understanding of softer skills, such as philosophy and also critical thinking. Now, this is mainly because that we cannot rely on technologies to do everything for us. And as such, we must be critical towards it. And sometimes it's just easier to say, just like we do when we watch Netflix, to play the next thing in line. Now, when it comes to living and working on the sea, critical thinking is needed in order to challenge this perception and upcycle your job.
The training that we are focusing on is around human interaction and human behaviors. So to train the seafarers, allowing them to learn and implement some specific behaviors. We call it safety leadership behaviors. Which allows the group of people to interact in a very positive, constructive way, which is about developing a culture of our organization. So that training, I think, is something that we might have been lacking to date. And now we have some, with the new technology coming, we have some interesting tools with a 3D simulation tool, with a gamification tool, which allows them to train and practice that on board, which I think is good.
It's quite difficult, I think, to look at training for seafarers for the future, because we don't actually know what the future is going to look like, or when it's going to be. When is the future, I guess. I do believe that automation, or this whole age of ships becoming automated, will have an effect on seafarer training. And I think we need to look very closely at the technical skills that will be required for that, because I think they'll be different from, it's not going to be about driving a ship, it's going to be about controlling the systems that drive the ship, whether that's on board or remotely. And those systems will be all of the systems, whether it's navigation or engineering or electrotechnical. So I don't think there's going to be the same discipline areas that there are at the moment. But in terms of what that training actually needs to be, then I think we need to be doing much more intelligence gathering within the industry as a whole to identify what that training actually needs to be.
I think there's a lot of training available to seafarers which is based on meeting their competency requirements for STCW. I think there's a wealth of industry training that's available to seafarers. What I feel that seafarers really would benefit from is soft skills training. So looking at topics like leadership and managing people, looking at some of the softer skills associated with management in the sector. And I think that's really what seafarers are crying out for as part of their wider development and as part of their transition into shoreside careers.
I think there's an awful lot more could be done in terms of managing their careers. I think when seafarers start off in their life, do they actually know where life will be in a number of years' time? And I think preparing them for a life at sea and then beyond, trying to do the talent pipeline, if you like, I think is really important. So I think it's really important right from the word go to manage their expectations.
I believe that we should focus more on leadership training when it comes to the future. The challenges we are facing now and in the future is highly related to having good leaders. If we have good leaders, we can overcome these challenges. This is my firm belief. Now, when I was finishing the academy 33 years ago, there was no leadership training at all. Still today, we are not giving leadership training to our seafarers. This, in my opinion, will be a game changer. Now, leadership training is not about reading a book or taking a CBT. Leadership training is about being aware of your strengths, your weaknesses, having role awareness and self-awareness. That is taught through reflection, personal profiling analysis, discussions, having a new mindset. This, I believe, will be a game changer for the future.